So I had this idea to build what I'm calling the double-decker Newton's cradle. The idea is pretty straightforward. With a normal Newton's cradle, the energy of the first ball is entirely transferred to the last ball. Whereas in the double-decker setup, I want the energy to transfer from the first ball through this lever and into the first ball of the lower Newton's cradle. But as you can maybe tell, the issue is with tuning the lever. Specifically, the mass of the lever and the distance of the balls from the pivot of the lever. And it was while I was trying to optimize those parameters that I realized something, which is that I don't understand levers. So this video was originally going to be, hey, look at this weird Newton's cradle that I made. But now it's going to be me trying to convince you that you don't understand levers either. And then maybe together we all get to the point where we understand levers again, with a bit of help from Matt Parker here and Henry from Minute Physics. And if you're someone who continues to understand levers throughout this video, I'm sure you'll leave a comment to let us know, perhaps describing how obvious it all seems to you. That way we know how clever you are. We will get back to optimizing the double-decker Newton's cradle eventually, I promise. But first, here's how I'm going to try and persuade you that there's at least something that you don't understand about levers. To do that, I'm going to introduce you to a thought experiment involving a system of levers. And then I'm going to go through a series of logical steps that seem very reasonable. And then at the end, we'll have a situation where I've put 1 joule of energy into the system, but I've got 2 joules of energy out. Okay, so suppose we have a 1 kilogram mass and it's floating in space. And imagine we've got a rocket that we can use to push on this mass. And it's a specially designed rocket so that it's always going to push with exactly 1 Newton of force. So we start the engine and we start pushing. And we keep pushing until we've traveled a distance of 1 meter. And so, of course, the mass speeds up, and now it has some kinetic energy. So how much work has the rocket done on the mass? Well, work done is force times distance. The force is 1 Newton, the distance is 1 meter, and so the work done is 1 joule. 1 times 1 is 1. And that 1 joule of work turns into the kinetic energy of the mass. So the 1 kilogram mass ends up with a kinetic energy of 1 joule. And if you want to be belt and braces about it, you can also calculate it by starting with force equals mass times acceleration. It's a longer calculation, but you still end up with a kinetic energy of 1 joule. And by the way, its velocity at the end is √2 meters per second. That will come in handy later. In the previous animation, I had the rocket kind of disappear for clarity. But of course, after the engines turn off, the rocket's going to be moving at that speed as well, and they'll just glide together. Now let's imagine that the whole thing is mediated by a lever. It's the same thing. We push on the lever with a force of 1 Newton over 1 meter. The mass feels the same force over the same distance, and so it ends up with the same kinetic energy of 1 joule. For the next logical step, we just need to remind ourselves of something we already know about levers. And for this, we're not floating in space anymore. We're back on Earth, and we're just holding up a kilogram mass with our finger.